In the criminal underworld, your skin is your resume, but one wrong mark is a death warrant. Today, we decode the language of blood, the secret prison tattoos that define the world's deadliest hierarchies, the silent record, an introduction to the underworld's ink to the uninitiated. The tattoos found on the bodies of the world's most dangerous men look like chaotic sketches or perhaps a disorganized collection of religious and cultural symbols. But within the concrete walls of maximum security facilities, there is no such thing as just a tattoo. Every line, every shadow, and every drop of ink is a deliberate statement. It is a record of crimes committed, years served, and lives taken. For the aging veterans of the prison system, those who have spent decades behind bars, their bodies are a literal map of a life lived in defiance of the law. This is the language of blood, a self-policing system of branding that ensures everyone knows exactly who they are dealing with from the moment they step into the yard. In a world where you have no money, no privacy, and no freedom, your skin is the only property you truly own. For the elite members of criminal organizations, these marks are a source of immense pride and a tool of absolute terror. But there is a sacred rule. You cannot buy these marks, and you cannot fake them. Every tattoo must be earned through what is known as work, usually an act of extreme violence. If a newcomer arrives with an unearned brand, the consequences are swift and surgical. In the darkness of a cell, the unauthorized ink will be removed, often without anesthesia, using whatever sharp object is available. This is the reality of the dark ranks of world where the ink on your chest can be the reason you are respected or the reason you are executed. The Empire of the Vori, the stars of the Russian Mafia. Our journey begins in the frozen, brutal landscape of the Russian penal system. Here, the Vorivizakin, or the thieves in law, have developed perhaps the most sophisticated and poetic tattoo culture in human history. To a Russian mobster, a man without tattoos is a man who doesn't exist. Their tattoos are a criminal CV that documents every arrest, every conviction, and every specialty from safe-cracking to contract killing. The most iconic and feared of these marks are the 8-pointed stars. When these stars are positioned on the collarbones or the shoulders, they identify a captain or a high-ranking authority within the Brotherhood. They represent a life committed to the thieves' code, a refusal to ever hold a legitimate job or cooperate with the state. However, the most defiant of these stars are found on the knees. A tattoo of an 8-pointed star on the kneecap carries a heavy, singular message: I will never kneel before the authorities. It is a mark of ultimate resistance. In the era of the Soviet gulags, these stars were often accompanied by portraits of Lenin or Stalin on the chest, not out of loyalty to the leaders, but because prisoners believed guards were forbidden from shooting at images of the great leaders. When the leaders died, the tattoos evolved into images of churches and cathedrals. The number of domes on the church represents the number of sentences the inmate has served. A 5-domed cathedral means 5 separate stays in prison. It is a badge of endurance, a silent testament to a man who has survived the worst the system could throw at him. The Black Hand of La Eme, the sovereignty of the Mexican Mafia across the Atlantic. In the sprawling, overcrowded prisons of the American Southwest, the symbols change but the blood remains the same. The Mexican Mafia, known as La Eme, is a shadow government that rules over thousands of Hispanic inmates. Their primary mark of sovereignty is the number 13, representing the 13th letter of the alphabet, M. While many street-level gang members were the 13 as a sign of general allegiance, the true masters of the organization were something far more exclusive: the Black Hand of Death. This is a dark, stark silhouette of a hand, often accompanied by the letters Eme or an Aztec war symbol. The Black Hand is not just a gang sign, it is a contract. To wear this mark on your body, you must be a made man, someone who has carried out a sanctioned hit on behalf of the leadership. It is an elite status that commands instant fear and total obedience from every other Latino inmate in the yard. For these men, the tattoo is a spiritual commitment. They often blend these criminal marks with intricate oil painting style depictions of Aztec warriors like Huitzilopochtli, the god of war. This connects their modern-day violence to an ancient warrior heritage. creating a narrative of noble resistance. But the reality is far more grim. In La Eme, the ink is permanent because the loyalty is eternal. If a member attempts to defect or snitch, the organization considers the ink to be their property and they will take it back by force, leaving the traitor scarred or dead. The Aryan Brotherhood, the philosophy of blood in, blood out in the violent, racially segregated tiers of federal penitentiaries. The Aryan Brotherhood operates with a ruthless, military-like discipline. Their tattoos are designed for one purpose: psychological warfare. The primary symbol of the Brotherhood is the shamrock, or the three-leaf clover, often intertwined with the letters OB and 666. To the uninformed observer, it might look like a simple tribute to Irish heritage, but within the dark ranks, it is a symbol of a murderous bond. The Brotherhood operates under a strict philosophy known as blood in, blood out. This means that no prospective member can be branded with the official shamrock until they have committed a violent act, usually a murder against an enemy of the gang. Once the blood is spilled, the ink is applied, but the contract is for life. If a member is ever expelled or chooses to leave, the gang's enforcers will hunt them down to remove the brand. They believe that if you are no longer part of the Brotherhood, you have no right to carry their symbols on your skin. These removals are performed with blowtorches, acid, or knives, ensuring that the traitor is marked with a scar far more painful than the original tattoo. For the aging leaders of the OB, these marks are a source of absolute power. They use images of sigrunes and lightning bolts to project an image of racial superiority and unstoppable force, ensuring that even the most seasoned guards think twice before interfering with their business. The eternal scars of MS-13, the mask of the outcast. While most criminal organizations prefer to keep their marks hidden under clothing to avoid the watchful eyes of law enforcement, Marisolvatruka, or MS-13, took a different, more terrifying path. They chose to wear their crimes on their faces. Members of MS-13 often cover their foreheads, cheeks, and even eyelids with massive MS lettering, devil horns, and the names of their specific cliques. This is a psychological strategy intended to make the member an eternal outcast from polite society. Once a man has a massive MS tattooed across his face, he can never hold a normal job or walk down a street without being identified as a criminal. This mask of terror forces the member to remain entirely dependent on the gang for survival, food, and protection. It is a permanent bridge-burning exercise. In the mega prisons of Central America, such as the infamous Sicat in El Salvador, you can see thousands of these men, their faces transformed into gothic tapestries of violence. They use the devil's horns hand sign and tattoos to signal their commitment to a lifestyle of mata, viola, controlla, kill, rape, control. For the MS-13 veteran, the pain of the tattoo needle on the sensitive skin of the face is a rite of passage, a way to prove that they no longer fear physical suffering or the judgment of the world. The teardrop, the world's most misunderstood mark, the single teardrop under the eye, is perhaps the most famous prison tattoo in global popular culture, but its meaning is deeply nuanced and often deadly. In the original traditions of the American underworld, a solid black teardrop signified that the wearer had taken a life. It was a silent admission of murder, worn as a warning to all who looked them in the eye. However, in different regions and different decades, the meaning has shifted. In some circles, an open teardrop, just an outline, means that the wearer's friend or family member was murdered and they are seeking vengeance. Once the revenge is taken, the teardrop is filled in with black ink. But there is a darker side to this mark. In some high-security facilities, the teardrop is not a mark of pride, but a mark of shame. It is forcibly tattooed onto the faces of inmates who have been victimized or broken by others in the yard. This ambiguity is what makes the teardrop so dangerous for the passer or the newcomer. If you walk into a yard wearing a teardrop but cannot provide the name of the victim or the story of the crime, you will be seen as a fraud. In the world of prison hierarchies, claiming a kill you didn't commit is a capital offense. The teardrop is a heavy weight to carry. It is a mark that invites constant questioning. And in prison, questions often lead to violence. The spider web, a badge of the long-timer found most commonly on the elbows or the neck. The spider web is a universal symbol that transcends specific gang lines. It is the badge of the long-timer, someone who has been caught in the system for a significant portion of their life. Each ring of the web often represents a year spent behind bars. For the older inmate, a large, multi-layered web on the elbow is a sign of resilience. It tells the younger generation that this man has survived the loneliness, the violence, and the soul-crushing boredom of the four walls. The placement on the elbow is significant because it represents the inmate leaning on a table for years, doing nothing but waiting for time to pass. While this tattoo has been co-opted by various subcultures in the outside world inside the wire, it remains a serious indicator of status. It says that the wearer is no longer a guest in the prison system, they are a permanent resident. They have seen the riots, they have seen the lockdowns, and they have outlived their enemies. It is a mark of a man who has been consumed by the dark ranks and has accepted that he may never truly leave them. The silent language of the Yakuza, the hidden armor in Japan. The Yakuza, the legendary crime syndicates, practice a form of tattooing known as irezumi that is as beautiful as it is brutal. Unlike Western gangs who use tattoos to intimidate the public, the Yakuza keep their art hidden. Their tattoos often cover the entire body, from the neck to the ankles, but are designed to be completely invisible when wearing a traditional suit. This hidden armor is a feat of incredible physical endurance. These suits are not made with modern electric machines. They are created using tebari, a traditional hand-poking method using bamboo or steel needles. A full body suit can take hundreds of hours and cost tens of thousands of dollars. For the Yakuza veteran, the process is more important than the result. It is a test of pain tolerance and a symbol of their ability to endure suffering for the sake of the kumi or the family. The imagery is deeply rooted in Japanese folklore, koi fish representing perseverance, dragons representing wisdom and power, and cherry blossoms representing the fleeting nature of life. When two Yakuza members meet in private, they reveal their ink to one another as a sign of mutual respect. It is a secret language that says, "I have bled for my brothers, and I am a man of my word." The hourglass and the clock, time without, and perhaps the most haunting tattoos are those that deal with the concept of time. In maximum security wings where men are serving life without the possibility of parole, the clock without hands is a common sight. It is a stark, minimalist image that represents a life where time has lost all meaning. When you are never going home, the minutes, hours, and years blend into a single great eternity. The missing hands on the clock tell the world that for this inmate, the world stopped turning the day the cell door locked for the final time. Similarly, the hourglass represents the slow, agonizing drip of a life sentence. For the aging inmate, these tattoos are not about gang pride or criminal deeds. They are about the psychological reality of their existence. They are a permanent reminder of the price they paid for their choices. When you see these marks on an older man's hand or neck, you are looking at a person who has made peace with the fact that he will die in the same place. He was reborn as a criminal. It is the most honest tattoo in the prison system, a confession of a life spent in the shadows. The triads and the breath of the dragon in the underworld of Hong Kong and Southeast Asia. The triads utilize tattoos as a sophisticated ranking system. The green dragon is one of the most respected marks, reserved only for those who have achieved a high rank within the society. For the triads, tattoos are often associated with the triad oath, a set of 36 oaths that every member must swear upon joining. These tattoos serve as a constant reminder of the consequences of betrayal, which, according to the oaths, is death by 1,000 cuts. The imagery is often vibrant and detailed, featuring lotuses, phoenixes, and warriors from Chinese history. But like the Yakuza, these marks are often kept private. They are a secret brotherhood's uniform. In the triad culture, a tattoo is also believed to carry a certain kai or spiritual energy. A member must be strong enough to carry the spirit of the dragon on their back. If a weak man wears a powerful symbol, it is believed that the tattoo will bring him misfortune and eventually lead to his downfall. This spiritual dimension adds a layer of mysticism to the language of blood that is unique to the East. The risk of the unearned mark, the Yard's ultimate sin. The most important lesson for anyone entering the world of the dark ranks is that a tattoo is a debt. In the outside world, money can buy you any image you desire. In the prison yard, money is worthless, only history matters. If a young inmate enters the yard with a 1488 white power tattoo, or a crowned line of the Latin kings, but has no record of serving the gang, he is committing the ultimate sin. He is a fraud, and the system has a zero-tolerance policy for frauds. The veterans of the yard, the men whose bodies are covered in decades of earned ink, will confront the newcomer. They will ask for his papers, his history, his sponsors, and the stories behind his marks. If the stories don't match the ink, the removal begins. There is a deep, dark irony in the fact that the very tattoos designed to provide protection can become the reason for an inmate's demise. The language of blood is a self-correcting system. It ensures that the hierarchy remains pure and that the marks of the elite are never diluted by those who are not willing to pay the price in blood. These marks are more than just ink and needles. They are a map of a life lived in violence, a record of crimes committed, and a warning to anyone who dares to cross their path. In the world of the incarcerated, where you have no money, no freedom, and no privacy, your skin is the only thing you truly own. And for many, it becomes the only truth. They have left a permanent scream of defiance against a system that wants to forget them. The next time you see a strange symbol or a faded mark on someone's hand, remember that in the underworld, nothing is accidental. Every line tells a story, and every story has a cost. If you found this deep dive into the dark ranks of prison culture fascinating, make sure to watch our video on the Mexican Mafia or the Aryan Brotherhood to see how these ink-marked soldiers operate on the inside. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the deeper we go, the darker it gets. See you in the next one.